evening, everyone, and welcome to the City Council meeting of Monday, December 1st, 2025. With that, roll call, please.
Luther.
Here.
Crow.
Here.
Sutherland.
Yeah.
Yanko. Here. Picker. Here. Schwetz.
Here.
Hens.
Here.
Solberg. Here. Brennan. Bergman.
Here.
Sommerfeld.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes. Anybody like to make a motion to approve the last meeting's minutes? Brad, go ahead, please.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Great. Is there a second to that motion? Abigail?
I second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Public hearing this evening. Under public hearing, we have several. I'll read it off, and then I'm going to have Mr. Schofield tee them up for us tonight. The first public hearing is public hearing for proposed ordinance 2025-10, an ordinance rezoning certain lands along 4th Avenue Northeast for limited multiple family. Mr. Schofield.
Yes, in your packet, and I will share it to the screen here shortly. So on your screen is a copy of the map that was included in the packet. Bridge to Hope is proposing to rezone approximately 1/4 of their property. The property was split into two separate lots and two separate zones for some reason. They went to do a solar farm, and we caught that this discrepancy existed. So they requested a rezone.
As part of President Trump's
They requested a rezone to R3 to match the remainder of their property. We have a public hearing tonight. We did notify all property owners within 350 feet so they can come speak their piece with respect to this, and I can get into the consideration at a later date, but I just wanted to at least lead up on what was being discussed.
Good, thank you, Mr. Schofield. So public hearing tonight, anybody can come up to the microphone and speak on this subject. Please give us your name and address, and you can speak in the public hearing. Okay, do you have somebody coming forward?
Hello, Molly Riggin, 2104 Avenue Northeast. So my name is Molly Richmond, Executive Director of the Bridge to Hope, and as David reported, we are looking to rezone from R2 to R3. So our entire property is in the same zone, and we're able to do the projects we need to keep the Bridge to Hope afloat. And you'll take questions. Thank you.
Good, thank you for being here tonight, Molly. Anybody else on this particular public hearing? Okay, we're going to move on to the next piece of public hearing. Under 3B, public hearing for proposed ordinance 2025-11, ordinance amending portions of section 1452, creating subdivision improvements. Mr. Schofield, could you bring us up to speed on that, please?
Yeah, so in our ordinances, we have certain requirements for subdivisions. We have two sections that conflict. Section 1452. Let me just pull it up here. Pardon me. (1452) and 1434. One says that curb and gutter is required. The other says that the gravel surface with asphaltic seal coat is provided. We haven't constructed a road of asphaltic seal coat in 50 years. And so what I'd like to do, and what I'm proposing to do, and what Planning Commission recommended, was to modify 1452 to comply with 1434. So we did a public notice. We didn't notice it to any specific folks because we don't have any pending. There's no zoning that we have to notify within 250 feet of, so we just did a notice in the paper for this one, 2 week last week.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schofield. So public hearing on this particular item is now open. If anybody would like to speak on this, you can come up to the microphone. Last call. Okay, we'll close public hearing on that particular item and move on to the next item. Under 3C, public hearing for proposed ordinance 2025-12, an ordinance amending portions of section 1047 off-street parking. Again, if you could tee us up on that, Mr. Schofield.
Yeah, so We proposed a modification to our zoning to strengthen some of the off-street parking requirements. Right now, I believe it says that the off-street parking has to be a dust-free surface, but that term is never defined. And so the proposed ordinance that is before you tonight would just clarify what the requirements are for off-street parking. I would like to note, based on comments that were received at this body and then at the Plan Commission, I am proposing one change to that proposed ordinance, which we'll get into a little bit later. Rather than 3 stalls, the requirements for curbing and concrete or asphalt will kick in 8 stalls. But that change was a recommendation of the Plan Commission, and I believe there's a couple folks here that were concerned about this getting triggered for single-family housing or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schofield. So the public hearing of that particular item is now open. If anybody would like to speak, come to the podium. Last call. Okay, we'll close that particular item on public hearing, move on to the next one. Under 3G, public hearing for proposal ordinance 2025, 13 millions, creating section 10.4.11 of site lighting. Again, Mr. Schofield.
Yeah, so we don't have a site lighting ordinance in any districts except for our B4 district. That's our local neighborhood office, I think it is. It really only applies between Culvers and Stepping Stones. So the intent of this ordinance is to create the site lighting requirements. At the previous meeting and the Plan Commission, there were 2 suggested changes, so there are 2 changes that would be considered this evening. The first is that we did not have a maximum color temperature, and so I'm recommending that we add a maximum color temperature of 4,000 Kelvin. And then the other is the Planning Commission had recommended to exempt decorative Christmas light. So those are the 2 changes from what we talked about. And obviously this one is a zoning ordinance, so we did notify, or we did do a public hearing. That was last
Microphone. Okay, we'll close that particular item on public hearing, move on to the rest of our meeting. Under public comments is a portion of our meeting where anybody can speak for 3 minutes or less on agenda items for the evening. So if you'd like to speak on agenda items for the evening, please come forward to the podium. Make sure the microphone is on. Please give us your name and your address. So we'll open up public comments at this time.
I don't know anybody anymore. My name is Bruce Trimble. I live at 1203 Wilcox Street. That's up in North Menomonie, just below the Christ Lutheran Church. What I want to talk about was considerations for the I'm sorry. For the I'm sorry, the data processing center. I've been part of, for 55 years, I've been part of, worked hard on many improvements for Menomonie, and I think this is a huge one that deserves an awful lot of very good consideration. I'm just hoping that in your dealings with it and your discussions with it and your decisions, that you'll view it with from a positive view. It's a huge opportunity for Menomonie. I had trouble getting my arms around how much money that's really talking about, but I understand it's in the range of $1.5 billion. And I had to put it in relationship to something that I could understand. If you viewed a house that's worth $500,000, it would take 2 of those to amount to $1 million. $1 billion is 1,000 millions. So for $1 billion, you'd have 2,000 houses worth $500,000. For $1.5 billion, you're looking at the same investment in the city of Menomonie that would be invested by 3,000 houses, each of which would be worth $500,000. A huge investment in Menomonie. And I feel that success breeds success. Something like this comes into Menomonie, it'll bring other things with it. And we have an opportunity to either be part of the future or to be behind, looking forward at some other city that is part of this future. And so I hope that you'll look at it positively and make good decisions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Okay, public comment is still open. If anyone else would like to speak, now is your opportunity to do so. Last call for public comments. Okay, oh, go ahead.
So are we on, I just, point of order, are we talking about the lighting ordinance?
Whoops.
Or?
Oh, sir.
No, we're
Sorry.
in public comments right now.
Public comments.
So anything on the agenda?
Okay. I'm here, my name is Douglas Buck. I'm an attorney at Quarles and Brady. I was before this board previously. I represent Balloonist, the party that purchased 310 acres in the city and was annexed and rezoned. You know, I'm here on behalf of Balloonist to encourage you to not refer the proposed downzoning of its property to the Planning Commission, but to rather adopt a resolution authorizing the city staff to re-engage with Balloonist in its discussions for a potential development agreement for this project. I appreciate Bruce's words. I share those feelings and sentiments. I think this project is a huge opportunity for this community. Balloonist would like to recognize and acknowledge the vocal opposition that this project has received since its property was annexed and rezoned. However, much of that pressure comes from the fact that the city stopped the negotiations of a potential development agreement which would have contained the details of the project's proposed site plan and many other aspects of this project. So rather than downzone the site, which will raise a number of issues in and of itself, but without vetting any of the important details of the project, it will not help the community to address those concerns that they have vocalized to you. Many of the potential issues that have been raised would be discussed in the agreements with the city. For example, we were discussing a potential water agreement. A number of people have raised concerns about how much water will this project use. I'm not an engineer, but I know from the discussions that we were having with the city staff that the initial estimates were that this project was going to use less water than the farmers used last year irrigating their fields. And that this project would be, I think, the fourth or fifth user in the city by volume. You know, there are so many numerous benefits to this project to your community. And, you know, we started a process that goes back to 2004, or you started a process, excuse me, to allow for data centers under your zoning code, to adopt a comprehensive plan thereafter that permitted data centers in your community, to vote unanimously in your plan commission to annex and rezone the property a few months ago and then to approve the project. And, you know, this would be a reversal of years of work. So we would encourage you to please re-engage with Balloonist to debate in an open forum the details of their project. Again, a project that's going to create a ton of tax base and have very little demands on public service in terms of schools. It's not a bunch of people that are going to school out there. See, my 3 minutes is up, but thank you for your time, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Funk. Okay, anybody else in public comments? Okay, we'll close public comments and move on with the rest of our meeting. All right, that brings us down to old business. 5A, proposed ordinance 2025-10, ordinance rezoning certain lands along 4th Avenue Northeast from limited multiple family residential district R2 to multiple family residential district R3. Discussion, possible waiver of first reading, possible waiver of second reading, possible adoption. So that being said, Mr. Schofield, you still have it up. This is the Bridge to Hope property?
Yep, so just to clarify here, this is the northwest corner of the Bridge to Hope property. It's in the southeast quadrant of 4th Avenue Northeast and 21st Street North, 21st Street Northeast. This is kind of behind the hospital, just so you're aware of what we're talking about here. The property in question, which is this darker line here, this is zoned R2, whereas the remainder of their property is zoned R3. So the request is to rezone the property from R2 to R3. They have already done a certified survey map that was approved contingent upon this action by the council. So if this is approved, then the CSM is approved because it was contingent upon this, to merge the property and merge the three parcels actually into one parcel. So the Planning Commission did review this and did recommend approval of the proposed rezoning unanimously. Again, we're only rezoning 132 by 99 feet, give or take. The rest of the property is already R3. Again, they also do not intend on doing any change to use. This is just clarifying and cleaning up an issue from previous years. So what's before you tonight is, it's already been introduced. It would be a waiver of the first reading, waiver of the second reading, and possible adoption. Would be the three actions.
Okay. Sydney?
I make a motion to waive the first reading of proposed ordinance 2025-10.
Okay, thank you. Ryder?
Oh, second motion.
Motion been made and seconded to the first reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And if anybody would like to waive the second, Abigail?
I move to waive the second reading of proposed ordinance 2025-10.
Okay, is there a Gretchen?
I second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Waive the second reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then adoption. Sydney, go ahead, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the proposed ordinance.
Okay, motion been made. Is there a second? Matthew, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'll second Sydney's motion.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt the ordinance. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to 5B, proposed ordinance 2025-11, ordinance amending portions of section 14.5.2 relating to subdivision improvements. Mr. Schofield?
Yes, as I mentioned during prior to the public hearing, so in 14.3.4, we require that curb and gutter is provided for improvements in a subdivision. In 14.5.2, we use the phraseology, roadways shall be surfaced with 6 inches of 3/4 inch maximum size crushed gravel and asphalt seal coat. As I mentioned, we haven't done that in 50 years at least. Probably the Elmwood addition area was probably the last one that was constructed in that manner. So what I would like to do and what Planning Commission recommended was to amend this 14.5.2C5 as proposed in the ordinance. So the proposed wording is streets. Streets shall be a minimum 32 feet wide as measured from face of curb to face of curb, with 12 inches of granular subgrade, 8 inches of crushed aggregate base, 3 inches of hot mix asphalt pavement, and 24-inch wide mountable or barrier curb and gutter. Ribbon curbs with roadside ditches are prohibited. So that is that would be what would be for you tonight for possible first reading, possible second reading, waiver of second reading, and possible adoption.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schofield. That brings it back to council. Anybody like to waive the first reading? We can do that at this time. Sydney,
I'll waive the first reading.
motion been made to waive the first reading. Is there a second to that motion? Ryland?
Oh, second motion.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to waive the first reading. Any discussion? All in favor, signify, go ahead.
Just a point of order.
Yes.
For 5A, we need to do a roll call vote for the adoption. Just what it says in the background.
I was incorrect when I put that together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Oh, okay, so we're at first reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And if anybody would like to make a motion to waive the second reading, you can do that at this time. Ryland?
I'll make a motion to waive the second reading.
Okay, motion been made. Sydney?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to waive the second reading. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then if anybody would like to make a motion to adopt, we can do that at this time. Matthew, go ahead, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-11.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Sydney, go ahead, please.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt the ordinance. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to 5C, proposed ordinance 2025-12, an ordinance amending portions of section 1047, off-street parking. Mr. Schofield?
Yes, so the off-street parking requirements were introduced at a previous meeting and then discussed at Plan Commission. There were a couple of comments both at council and at Plan Commission about whether or not 3 parking stalls was the appropriate trigger for requiring curb and gutter. Would that all of a sudden hit single-family houses or even duplexes, that sort of a thing? And so I propose to make 2 modifications, or 1 modification to the ordinance. The appropriate way to do this would be a motion to modify paragraphs 7, 8, and 9 of the proposed ordinance 2025-12 to change the threshold to 8 parking stalls before paving and curbing is required. Because I'm recommending that change, what I would recommend is just to waive the first reading, and then we would bring this back to your next meeting for consideration of the second reading and consideration of adoption.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schofield. So if anybody would like to waive the first reading, you can do so at this time. Jeff Luther?
I'll waive the first reading.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or no,
Oh,
modify, I'll make a motion to modify paragraph 7, 8, 9 of proposed ordinance 2025-12. To change the threshold to 8 parking stalls before paving and curbing are required.
you got it. Eric?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I think we will, we'll wait, put this back on the future agenda for the second reading and adoption. Whoa.
Wait, I'll waive the first reading
I'm sorry.
of
Yes.
proposed ordinance 25-12.
There you go. Okay, good. Sorry, I got tongue twisted. Eric?
I'll second.
All right, there we go. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. Now we're good. Okay, moving on. Bring us down to D, proposed ordinance 2025-13, ordinance creating section 10.411, site lighting. Mr. Schofield.
Yes, this was before you at the previous meeting for introduction, and it was referred to the Plan Commission. In my memo, and I'll just pull it up into it. We received some comments about color temperature. So short of getting into a long discussion about a topic that not many people are very interested in, you'll notice that there are different hues of white. A 1000 K or 1000 Kelvin white is a very reddish white. A 10,000 Kelvin is a very bluish white. Folks kind of prefer red colors generally because it makes them feel like they're next to a warm, roaring fire. Blue colors made me feel a little bit more harsh. So in the initial introduction of this, we did not have a maximum Kelvin requirement. And so what I would recommend, and based off of some discussion that we had here at this meeting and at the Plan Commission, is that we would add a maximum Kelvin of 4,000 Kelvin. Most of the lights that are commercially available are 5,000 or less, so I don't think that would be too terribly difficult to comply with the 4,000 Kelvin. I've seen some suggestions about requiring it to be no more than like 1,700 Kelvin. That would be a problem. That is not a commercially available light. So I'm recommending that we modify the proposed ordinance to reflect a maximum of 4,000, color temperature of 4,000. The second bit of it was at the Plan Commission meeting, they made their motion of recommendation contingent upon adding a exemption for decorative holiday lighting. So this would be if Wolski Bay Park, if that was a private property, obviously there's other places that light up their yards. They didn't feel as though having a requirement for a number of lumens for something like that was a worthwhile time for the city building inspector to be running around trying to check. So they had recommended to add decorative street lighting, or decorative holiday lighting as an exemption. So in your packet and on the screen here are two suggested motions. Modify paragraph A of the proposed ordinance 2025-13, add and have a maximum color temperature, corrected color temperature of 4,000 Kelvin, and then modify paragraph E of the proposed ordinance 2025-13 to add 12 decorative holiday lighting.
Okay, so let's take the first part first. So under DUBI, modify paragraph A of proposed ordinance 2025 to add and have a maximum corrected color temperature of 4,000 Kelvin. That would be the first motion. If somebody would like to support that with a motion, you can do so at this time. Mary.
I'd make a motion to modify the paragraph A of proposed ordinance 2025-13 to add and have a maximum corrected color temperature of 4,000 Kelvin.
Thank you. Abigail?
I second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And moving on to D2, modify paragraph E of proposed ordinance 2025-13 to add 12 decorative holiday lighting. If anybody would like to support this with a motion, you can do so at that time, this time. Abigail?
I make a motion to modify paragraph E of proposed ordinance 2025-13 to add 12 decorative holiday lighting.
Very good. Is there a second to that motion? Eric?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now, if anybody would like to make a motion to waive the first reading, you can do so at this time. Matt Curl?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to waive the first reading of proposed ordinance 2025-13.
Okay. And is there Eric?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. To waive the first reading, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And we will bring the subsequent motions back to the council at a future date. Moving on, this brings us down to 6A, proposed ordinance 2026-01, an ordinance amending portions of Title 10 of the City Code with respect to warehousing definition, data center definition, and creation of I-4 data center industrial district. Mr. Schofield?
Yeah, so you have in your packets, I also included it on the screen here. City Code 10-1-4 includes the definition of warehousing that includes establishments used primarily for the storage, management, processing, and transmission of digital data, and so on. That definition of warehousing is then allowed in the I-1, the I-2, and the I-3 districts as a permitted use. As a reminder, City Code has to accommodate legal land uses. We have a whole code section about adult entertainment facilities, so we can't just say we're not going to allow a specific land use. It's clear, based on feedback that we've received from community members and elected officials, that there needs to be additional discussion regarding the appropriate level of regulation of data centers. One method of doing so is to create a new district, an I-4 district, that can be refined with additional opportunities for public input. Amend City Code definition of warehousing to eliminate the reference to data centers. Create a new definition of data centers and allow data centers in that I-4 district. This ordinance 2026-01 would not rezone any properties. The properties would remain as under their current zoning. Any modification to that I-4 district would have to go through the same process that we just talked about for street lighting, or for site lighting and that sort of thing. There would be introduced at the city council, would be discussed at a plan commission meeting, would come back to city council. So that I-4 district, it's a little skinny right now. The intention is to make sure that we cover the concerns that folks have raised within a reasonable amount, and push that through the public meeting process so that folks have an opportunity to speak on that. When that's done, then we can consider rezonings to the I-4 district. So in the packet is a copy of the proposed ordinance. You'll see that this definition of warehousing, there used to be 5 items on there. Data center was, I think, D, if I recall correctly. That's been moved to its own definition, just straight data center. And then a proposed I-4 data center industrial district is included. Alderperson Yanko pointed out one typo, or 2 typos, towards the end of the ordinance 10-23-2. The front yard setback shall be 400 feet, and then under side yard setback and rear yard setback, they are both listed as front yard setback shall be 400 feet. So if someone is interested in making a motion to introduce this, there should be a correction to 10-23-2C to read side yard setback, and D to read rear yard setback.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schofield. I know that, I think this is important for the city of Menomonie to be able to negotiate good terms in the future for data centers. So I think with that, we would push forward. Rylan?
Just a quick question on, with this limit, the city hall technically has a data center in this building, 24/7 telecom also. Would that, the term is so broad that it could technically include somebody that had a gaming computer in their house. Is this taking into account what already exists that people overlook as being included in that term?
Yeah, so I can certainly answer that question. I think, I'll use your example. You've got a game computer in the basement. I don't think anyone would argue that your house is a establishment used primarily for storage management and processing and transmission of digital data. Even 24/7, which does have a small data center, that's not the only purpose of that building. They've got their customer service, they've got their trucks.
Their data center building's actually across the street from their office building, and I can get a handful through things about the fan noise from people that live directly next door. That it sounds like somebody's, home air conditioner running nonstop year round, but, not enough to drive them away, but it still is, it's still a building that is its exclusive use, from my understanding, not having been inside of it, but, windows are all covered, and that's what I understand is the only use of that building. But it's a broad enough term that I just want to make sure that we're not saying, we're not saying, well, you can't, have to build a new office building, because technically that office building is, it's used for computer processing, because you're doing, web design or whatever. Just looking at, what, because that's kind of how we got into this situation, is not looking at,
Well, I'd be happy to look at the 24/7 one in particular. It would be a legal non-conforming use. It could continue unmodified as the code changes, but that we wouldn't go in there and remove that ability to do that.
And then my other question on it was, a big part of the opposition seems to be coming from people that don't want to see AI processing, which seems to be more in the, technically a manufacturing of content and not a storage and transmission of it, which I'm wondering if we need to or can include something of that nature in this. Because in warehousing, you can do light assembly, but not, not full-blown manufacturing of, products. And storage is different than creating a product or content.
Yeah, it also says processing, which I think AI would be considered processing of data.
Or create, it's more, to me, more like a, office building creating content rather than just like cold storage. But that's why I raised the question of, how are we defining this and are we doing our due diligence on it?
I think those notes are taken. I think this is going to get some massaging. I'm sorry, we got multiples. Lee, but
I'm wondering where it stands as far as the 320 acres and the zoning there. If this passes and becomes an entity, does they have to approach us again with this new zoning? Or is this a done deal and the I-4 will be for any additional data centers?
My expectation is that they would have to reapproach us for rezoning to I-4.
That sounds a little iffy answer.
City?
Yeah, I think with this on the table, we gotta really tread carefully regarding it, just because the last few months have seen a lot of negativity, not only just people against a data center, but people not trusting their local government, which I personally have a huge issue with, because transparency is super important. If we can't even have it at the local scale, how can we expect it at the state and federal scale? And then secondly, we look like bad business partners. So we really got to make sure that we're not just saying we're rezoning this to stop a data center, because other businesses from other enterprises that don't just build data centers are going to look at that and think of us as really scummy, if I'm being full honest. I do think creating a new district of I-4 is really wise for the city, especially as we see technology advance. There's going to be other things, not like a data center, but that go under that technological industrial realm. And so to have a zoning category for that, I think is just wise for us to create regardless. I also think it allows us to have better negotiating when it comes to tech districts, just because they have to account for a lot of things that other industrial districts don't account for currently. So I don't want this to just be like, we don't want a data center, so let's just move it to an I-4, because, I mean, no one wanted, as David said, adult entertainments in the 90s, but we still have to put them somewhere. So let's look like good business partners and show us for the future of Menomonie, not just because we're scared because people got upset with us, because people didn't only get upset with us because we were being approached by a data center. They got mad with us because of our lack of transparency and honesty with them, which is still happening behind closed doors under this administration that is currently leading our city. And so I just think if we're going to do this, let's make sure that our actions all around improve, not just pass something to look good and positive.
Jeff.
I'd like to introduce the proposed ordinance 2026-1, an ordinance amending portions of Title 10 of the City Code with respect to warehouse definition, data center definition, and creation of a Data Center Industrial I-4 District. Also, refer this proposed ordinance 2026-01, an ordinance amending portions of Title 10 of the City Code for the request of warehouse definition, data center definition, and creation of the Data Center Industrial I-4 District to the Plan Commission for review and recommendation. With the amendments for the setback that David mentioned, I need to include that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Abigail?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to introduce the ordinance and to pass along to Plan Commission.
Jeff, just to confirm on that, the portion with the introduction was 1023-2C revised to read, there shall be a side yard setback, and then 1023-2D revised to say there shall be a rear yard setback.
Yes.
And Abigail? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the corrections. Sydney?
I would still like to hear what Matthew and Gretchen have to say before I vote on this. I think this is a pretty big step, and so I want to hear other opinions.
We're going to open it up for discussion. Matthew?
Yeah, I think it's good that we're having this discussion, and just for some additional context, that's in March and April of 2024, this was passed through the Plan Commission and through the council to have the definition of warehousing include data centers so that we had legal use for data centers. And, you know, there's data centers, there's data warehouses, and the data centers collect the data, and the data warehouses analyze the data. And the reason I think that it passed as a warehouse is because the state of Wisconsin, the tax assessors, they assess it as a warehouse. And that's why you get the large tax cuts here in the city, in the state of Wisconsin, and that's why the data centers are coming here. And just because it's assessed tax-wise as a warehouse doesn't mean that we need to define it in our city as a warehouse. And I think having an I-1 industrial for data centers on it, or I-4 I should say, for industrial data centers, I think is a good thing, and that it's not just for the setbacks, but we can later add light pollution, noise pollution, add permitting to the city, water usage, you can add all that stuff in there. A lot of that would be in a development agreement, but we have more upfront say that this is the bare minimum that you have to have. And it's not just for data centers, but for other expansions as well, other things that might come in to the city, other things might come to the tech park and the industrial park in the future. I think we need to take a better look at all of our codes and really help de-risk any type of project that might come in the future here. So I think it's a good thing that this gets put to I-4. I know Douglas Buck talked about wanting to re-engage in negotiations, and it's that there was this trying to get the details of the development agreement. It's kind of hard to trust what's being said in those development agreements if we don't know who the end user is still. And in Beaver Dam, Meta announced that they were constructing a new data center there, and they used a shell company called Degas LLC, and they did all the permitting through Degas LLC for air quality, for water quality, all that stuff, and it's in their public databases there. And they didn't announce that it was Meta until construction had already begun. And that's a little too late to be in my thinking. I don't think that's going to fly here. So, but I think the I-4 is a good thing to have here, and is needed not just for this, but for other things as well.
Okay, Gretchen.
To consider this addition to the best fit zoning, and I think it addresses the nature of this type of development well, and it gives, for both us and developers, it gives parameters and clarity. It helps elucidate our city's positions, goals, and values with regard to development, and it will assist the developers to plan for best practice partnerships with our community. So also, it does allow for greater public input. It keeps codes up to date, which is critical, and with how fast a lot of technology and whatnot is moving, we got to keep the laws up to date with that. And I think it does guide us to better outcomes, so I'll be with yes.
Any other discussion on this matter? Eric, go ahead, please.
Very good, thank you, Mayor. When I look at this, the data center has nothing to do with this in my mind. When you negotiate things with people or entities, it's about one thing generally, and it's called good faith. I don't care if it's a data center, if it's a stop sign on the corner, putting a dock on the lake, you're negotiating with some folks, and in good faith, agree to negotiate in that good faith. So my concern with this is we're not dealing in good faith. Because we gave the impression that we would, but now we're going to introduce a situation, regardless of who it is, that puts the kibosh, good finished word, to the negotiation, and it basically takes the knees out of the other party. I would never do this in a personal friendship or any kind of business situation, personally. That's the first thing. So I'm opposed to this 100%. And I'll tell you one thing, as far as I'm concerned, any big entity that wants to invest in the Menomonie area, and they see this, I'll tell you what, if I was running that company or that entity, I'd be like, do not go to that community at all, because you can't trust them and negotiate in good faith. So the fact that this basically kills the project, in most, I would have to say in most instances, I mean, now you got to negotiate, renegotiate some stuff. But it really puts that entity behind the 8 ball and gives them no leverage as far as I'm concerned. But that's really not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is what kind of message is this going to tell every industry that comes to Menomonie that, okay, we'll agree to you until we get to 50%, 50-yard line, and then boom, take your knees out and say, no, never mind. After you invested all this time and money into a project. It's nothing to do, as far as I'm concerned, with AI. It's everything to do with ensuring that people, industry, and entities understand that Menomonie will negotiate with you in good faith. And as far as I'm concerned, this is not good faith. That's the first thing. Second thing, this is maybe a question for you, Mayor, is Governor Evers, and I believe he's been elected 3 times as governor, maybe more. And I know you had some discussions with him in the past at different times, maybe not as much as some of the other governors, as far as I'm concerned. What's his position on this? Because this is a statewide issue, and you see it all over, everywhere. Has he come out and said if he supports this or doesn't support this? He's the leader of the state of Wisconsin. Do you know, Mayor? I'm just curious. Does anyone know? Because I haven't heard much from him concerning this. And if anybody's going to, you know, it's his policies that are driving this. I mean, that's been established, right? The tax credits and stuff. I mean, so, well, do you know, or have you spoke to him, or has anyone, maybe you have, David, concerning what his position on, or is he going to stay neutral on this so that you can have it both ways?
No, I did not speak to Governor Evers on this specific topic matter. I spoke with him regarding the lake and cleanup and environmental impact on other things, but the data center, no, I have not spoken to him on that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Rich, I'll finish up. Yeah, that's okay. Maybe I lost my train of thought there a little bit. But, you know, I hate to be so blunt, but I just feel like this sets a bad precedence for a city of Menomonie by not negotiating in good faith.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Gretchen?
I just want to bring up that we're not in negotiations. We're also representing the city and the parameters of our city zoning. And I think this is appropriate. It gives good clarity. And I disagree with your view on it. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but for the city itself, I think this adds good clarity and gives good parameters to move forward and to progress as we progress, we're always revising and improving, and this is just part of the revision and improving of our city code.
I agree, yes, we're not currently in negotiations, but we were for over a year, so that can't be denied. And again, if you don't negotiate and treat people in good faith, it'll come back and burn you, and it just will, as far as I'm concerned. No one will trust you, and this is the way it's gonna be, I guess. Now, I guess, these data centers obviously have a lot of influence and a lot of, capital, and, they're not gonna stop. I mean, that's just not gonna happen. This stuff is gonna happen one way or another. Maybe not in the whole state of Wisconsin. These data centers are gonna get built. If someone can look at me directly in the face and tell me this is not gonna happen, I just don't believe it. I'm not supporting the data centers or not supporting, I'm just saying that there's still gonna be a way to get around this, and it's going, potentially, and maybe not now, but somewhere. But that's not my biggest concern. Again, it's the good faith part of it. And I know if I was in negotiation with someone and they cut off the deal.
Clarifying city code, Eric, we're clarifying city code.
Thanks for
I'm sorry, but we're not negotiating.
I understand that. You change the city code to make it much more difficult to negotiate in the future. So maybe I misspoke. But I oppose this.
Okay, we have some other, we have some discussion here, so Lee, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'll go back to my original question, which I'm sorry I don't think was answered. If we put this in effect, what happens with our negotiations with the room cost? Are you back to square one? Since that property has been rezoned, I don't know who owns it, I assume it's still the property owners own it. But do they have to reapply, or does that project is far enough down the road that this zone 4 doesn't come into play?
No, they would come back and reapply, and certain aspects of the new zoning would apply. Right now, there would be no controls. If they wanted to just go ahead and dig a well, they could at this point. They would not have to come to the city. There would not be any negotiation that they would have to do with the city, whereas the I-4 kind of protects that element, so that it would be available to them to come in and say, hey, you know what, here's some of the parameters that the I-4 offers. City water and sewer, downlighting, noise, water use, pollution, all that. But in answering your question, Lee, they would come back to reapply, yes.
Well, just to follow up on what you just said, they would have done that through the present zoning. So I'll go back to what Eric was saying. I think we're changing, in this one in particular, we're changing the rules in the middle of the game. Now, I realize this is on a pause, but, I think there's a real problem if we're looking at that 320 acres now, or has to come back and look at the zoning, because it's moved this far under the I-1.
Actually, they would not have to, unless there's a TID district formed and with the TID district, we do a development agreement. At this point, they would not have to come back to the city. They could just move forward as it is. David, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Lee, you're asking for legal advice. It's a little dangerous to have that discussion in open session. Prior to this coming back to the body, I think we can certainly schedule a closed session with our attorney with respect to this issue and discuss your specific questions about that issue.
Yeah, basically tonight, all this would do would be move it on to the plan commission and produce the ordinance. It doesn't solidify it or any of that nature. It just gives more discussion on it, basically. So it moves it down the line to have more discussion is where we're taking it. So I'm sorry, Cindy, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I really want to echo what Eric's concerns were because I wholeheartedly agree, but I think what he's saying has already happened. I think we've burned, as a city, tons of bridges for possible developments, possible businesses, possible jobs coming here that we didn't even know because of how we handle this. It doesn't matter where you personally stand for or against data centers. I'm personally very against. I work in the industry. I know how essential they're coming to our current infrastructure, but I don't like how they're being operated. I don't like how they're being negotiated. I think there's a lot of ethical and environmental concerns there. However, I do agree with Gretchen right now that this is just updating our code. I think how we've handled this whole data center is just such a disaster. You don't go into negotiation, have pressure, and then just put us on the whole up and end and say we're actually doing this on a quote-unquote pause, which I still don't even know what that means, just that we're not in negotiations, I guess, which just looks awful. Like, I think if we would have had this from the get-go, it would have put us in a really great point, but by putting us out of negotiations, it's just completely curveballed us and frankly, excuse my language, screwed us over more than it helped. I mean, if they wanted to, they could have just bought the land, not annexed or rezoned, and just built it. That's how towns, we don't have zoning in the county and townships. They wanted to work with the city of Menomonie in good faith to negotiate a contract with us. And I don't see how that contract is going to benefit the city of Menomonie at all now just because of how we as a city have operated and have negotiated here. If I was a business looking to come here, which we desperately need businesses and we desperately need jobs. There are so many people having to move or work somewhere else because we just don't have the jobs. I mean, I just entered the workforce and I'm telling you frankly, there are not a lot of jobs. The market is awful. I have friends who have been applying for over a year, over 300 jobs, not being able to get a job. And I don't think a data center is the fix to that. Like, that's not the point of this. I'm more concerned right now with how this city is operating and how we are handling developments and businesses. Because I would run away if I was, like Eric said, if I was owner of a business, I would not look here at all, which breaks my heart because we have good citizens, we have hard workers, we have great students. But I also think we need to see this ordinance as this is setting us up for success in the future and defining our code in a better light, not just stopping a data center. Yes, that's what it's doing right now, but this zoning of I-4 should have already existed in my opinion rather than shoving it in I-4 or I-1. I think that was a huge mistake. I was not on the council at this time, so that, like, I just really disagreed with how that whole thing operated. But I think as we move forward, we really got to focus on what Gretchen is saying, and Eric, even though they just disagreed. But this is updating our code, and I do think what Eric says has a lot of weight that we need to start repairing how we are held as a city because we have really just not looked like good business partners, we have not looked like good representatives, and I just think it's atrocious.
Well, hindsight's always 20/20. It's easy to look back and say we made mistakes and we didn't do this right or that right. But I'm looking forward, and I think that negotiations, I think I-4, if we can put this into play, it just betters the chance of better negotiations for all businesses, not just the data center, but other businesses along those lines. It puts us on a better stance. Jeff?
Yeah, this whole thing with the data center and the community looking at the city council and the city government not doing their job, this all came about the night that we voted in the annexation and the night most of you voted in the rezone. If that rezone that night would have been not voted in, that would have gave the community, the city staff, and everybody else, us, more time to look into data centers and what it was all about. It's not the city staff's fault. They did nothing wrong going behind anybody's back to where we let the community down. The members that, I'm sorry, but the members that voted for that rezone that night let the community down. There were 3 of us that voted no, because it stated right in our packet that that was requested by the landowners and balloonists. And then, okay, let's go ahead and rezone it. And then that's when the whole ball of fire erupted in the city and everybody went nuts, is because that got voted in that night. So I think this I-4 is gonna give the council, the city staff, and balloonists more time to negotiate, give us more time to find out what balloonists is all about, and kind of ease the pressure of the community, thinking that we are just a bunch of, I'm done.
Okay, Eric, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I'll be brief here, you know. Overall, and I've been on this council, I quit a couple of years, a long time ago, but maybe 12, 13 years, and I've been very pleased, and I've stated this publicly, with the city staff, and what was accomplished through this council, and through the city administration. We did a lot of great things. I'm very proud of that, and I think we did some great stuff. This was a very unique thing, and I think it's, you know, we're not the only community that's like, just got hit with this, as my military experience, maybe grenade. You know, it just is something no one was really prepared for, including Menomonie, and I'm not trying to beat up on Menomonie. I think every community that has one of these AI centers coming into their community is dealing probably with the exact same thing. A lot of unknowns, uncertainties, and maybe not prepared zoning-wise or, you know, structurally prepared for something like this. So I don't blame the city staff or the county or the city at all for maybe not being as prepared as we're getting, but I think every community is probably dealing with the exact same thing. So I don't think we're unique in that manner. So I guess I just want to end on a positive note. I guess hopefully that's a positive note.
Well, and I'm not placing blame with anybody other than hindsight's 20/20, and you know, we are learning as we go. But I think this gives not only the balloonists, the city of Menomonie, the public, the mayor's office, the administration, the council, a chance to really absorb what's available. And I think it's a good move. I think that the data center is one entity, but this is not just about the data center. This is about cleaning up zoning. In fact, David's been doing a great job with zoning all along, cleaning up different zonings. I mean, goodness sakes, when we have speed limit signs that don't match up with our ordinances and things like that. So we are looking at a comprehensive rezoning, or looking at all the ordinances, and that's going to be a big project, and it's going to be a long project. It's probably a 2-year project. So this is just like phase 1 of looking at ordinances and how do you fix these different things, rezonings. And so I don't think there's anybody that we're going to do. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. If I am, I'm pointing fingers at myself for not doing as much diligence as I probably should have. But at this point, I think the best thing we can do is to go along with the Plan Commission's recommendation, bring it back for discussion, have more talk about this, figure out if this is the right move. This is not set in stone. All this is doing is getting and fleshing out more information and finding out what direction we go. So that being said, unless there's any other discussion, I'd like to do a roll call vote. All right, so a roll call vote, if you're in favor of sending this to Plan Commission, that would be a yes. So roll call vote, please.
Luther?
Yeah.
Crow?
Yes.
Sutherland?
No.
Yanko?
Yes.
Pickard?
Yes.
Schwebbs?
Yes.
Gens?
Yes.
Solberg?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Erdman?
Yes.
Sommerfeld?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the rest of our meeting. That brings us down to...
Oh, sorry, the ramp.
6B.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us down to 6B, proposed grant application with Dunn County to Wisconsin Department of Military Affairs for daily use radio grant program. Chief Hollister, you're here this evening. Could you come up forward and talk a little bit about that grant and fill us in?
Hello. Tonight, we're looking to request council approval for participating in the 80/20 radio match grant with Dunn County. Dunn County will be running the grant and it'll be open for all public safety agencies in Dunn County. And what that's doing is we're looking at, Dunn County is looking at upgrading their radio system to Wiscom 2.0. It's 800 megahertz frequency. We're currently operating on VHF frequency. It's an old frequency. It doesn't operate as well as the 800 megahertz frequency. And essentially what that is our radio system is at a point where we need to replace it. It's overdue for being replaced. As we buy parts for it, they're not compatible for the old system. And as we look at moving forward, we should be looking at the 800 megahertz frequencies. Dunn County is already looking at that, and the state is building these tower infrastructures in the southern and the northern parts of the state of Wisconsin. They're due to come in our area in 2027 to 2028. So when they come in our area, Dunn County is looking at moving into that phase with the radio, and that would put us all on the same radio if we go forward with that grant with them. The good thing about that is with our radio system, if we don't go with something like that, we're still going to need to upgrade our system. Is it able to be just fixed to sustain? I don't think so. We can't even find parts for it. The copper lines going into our 5 towers, they have to be replaced with fiber. There's many other parts of the council that have to be replaced. So you're basically looking at putting a new system in, and preliminary estimates are about $2 million. So as we look at that, and then we see what the county's doing for looking at going to Wisconsin 2.0. If the state gets here and they put that system in, it doesn't cost us a dime other than upgrading our radio system that we have for the portable and the mobile radios in the squad cars. In order to be part of phase 2, which is the Wiscom 800 program that the county's putting in, we have to have the radios in place and ready to go to jump on board that way. So it sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo. Radios are not my game, but I'm learning fast with these things. And our system is old and antiquated, I can tell you that again. So with this grant right now, if we say we want to be part of it and we were awarded this grant, $330,000 of portables and mobiles with infrastructure, with installation fees would cost us probably $79,000, just under $79,000. If we do it ourselves, it's $330,000 when we have to make that switch over. And that falls into that $2 million area if we go to a different program. So there's those two options. It's a win-win. I've talked to the city administrator. He supports it. He says it's a no-brainer, but he also wants the council's approval on it. So that's what we'd have to look for, is that incurred amount if we're awarded of just under $79,000.
Well, thank you, Chief Hollister. Any questions for Chief while we've got him up there? Yes, Brian?
So just doing a quick, reading quick Google results on what the difference is between the VHF and 800 megahertz on, is that it sounds like the system that we currently have works best in long distances over open space. So are we going to need more repeater towers and so on for this newer system that doesn't travel as far, but doesn't, sounds like doesn't have as many issues with buildings and obstructions? Or
Are you clarify, are you saying if we build our own system or if we go with the county one?
That our current, the old system that we currently have, it sounds like it does.
That's going to be, we need to go up to 800 megahertz, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
our current system does better over, transmitting over longer distances.
Our current system is VHF and it's for shorter distances, yes, but it also doesn't penetrate buildings like the 800 megahertz does.
Okay.
Right now, we have trouble over in buildings for getting reception. We're still going to have that with the 800 megahertz, but to no degree of what it is with our VHF right now. The options with that are, when we walk into buildings such as, let's say we're walking into the Walmart store, it can flip over to the Wi-Fi in that store and give us clear crystal transmissions when we're going, or if we're going Stout property. And Stout is already upgrading for the Wi-Fi capabilities. And then it also, with this new megahertz system, we can use less towers. Currently, we have 5 towers in the city. As when we're on the south side of town and we drive and get across the bridge going to North Menomonie, it would, it's called LTE feature. The new radio system would flip over to like cell phones do, the different towers, and it would jump that way. You would not even notice the difference. Right now, we don't have that capability with the VHF. And the VHF is just an old animal, that's all it is.
Yeah, that was my main question, is what other kinds of roadblocks and hiccups do you foresee with this upgrade? Because, upgrades always have drawbacks.
Yes, they do. But what I do like about this is, if this comes in at the end of 2027, 2028, the Wisconsin 2 through the state system, they're footing the bill for all these towers in Dunn County, the radio councils. The city incurs no cost. That's the good part about that. And so the maintenance fees goes out, I think it's either 5 or 10 years, so we're not going to see any maintenance fees. When we're talking to maintenance fees, this year I was in front of council for a $20,000 request for a repeater. We got that repeater. It's a new repeater for our current system, and that repeater is not compatible with the old system. It's so old. So we're going back and forth with that stuff. So we're sitting with a used repeater that's on loan from one of our vendors right now, and we're hoping that thing doesn't crash. Otherwise, we'll have to punt again. So that's kind of, and then the other benefit is if you can get all of your public safety agencies on the same type of system, it's just much easier for going back and forth when you're communicating, whether you communicate with fire, ambulance, or different law enforcement agencies, or if you're into an active shooter incident and an officer goes down, you can grab that radio and be able to use it and know how to talk to the other agencies. So just so many things that you can look at. You can look at the new radios now, and you can see the first thing that always happens is your radio transmission gets locked down because there's too much traffic on the radio. You can look at your radio and you can see where the responding units are, which ends they're coming in from the buildings from, and that's very important information to have when you're addressing the active shooter issues. Just a number of issues, but it's the way of the future, the 800 megahertz, and sooner or later we're going to have to replace it. It's just a matter of when. And right now we're at a tough spot, and so it comes down to timing with this grant. It's a good timing thing for us.
Would this include the fire department then?
Fire, I think, is involved with this, yes, and they just got different funding mechanisms, but they are part of it also.
Good question. Thank you. Any other questions for the chief? Oh, David, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify. So in the staff comments, there's a recommendation, approve the proposed recommendation with Dunn County for Wisconsin Department of Military Affairs Daily Use Radio Grant Program, and the local share not to exceed 100,000. Chief just mentioned it was a little under 80,000. We see this as, because it's a couple of years out, just to be safe, we suggested rounding up to the not to exceed 100,000, just because we figure there may be some changes as the program winds its way towards completion.
Okay, good. Thank you for that clarity. Anybody want to support this with a motion, we can do so at this time. Carol?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed grant application with Dunn County to Wisconsin Department of Military Affairs for a daily use radio grant program and the local share not to exceed $100,000.
Lee?
Second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Crow,
Yes.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Yelko,
Yes.
Pickard,
Yes.
Schweppes,
Yes.
Dents,
Yes.
Solbert,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Summerfeld,
Yes.
Luther.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. That moves us down to budget transfers. There are none this evening. Mayor's report. The lights are on at Wolfsky Bay. Pretty excited about that. So everybody get down there and check it out. Also wanted to mention the Winter Days Parade will be at December 11th. Parade starts at 6:30. The route is going backwards from, well, same as last year, but otherwise, I mean, everybody's marching forwards, but the route is actually backwards. So be sure to attend that. I'm going to go around the room for communications. Go ahead, Kate? Lee? Amanda? Or Abigail, I'm sorry. Rachel? Gretchen?
Not Rachel? Is backwards clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise.
Depends on which side of the street you're standing
We're
on.
going clockwise.
Thanks.
Eric? Matthew? Jeff Luther? David? Randy?
Nope.
Rylan?
I just wanted to say that I was impressed that the street department already had their giant snow blower out there in the streets downtown, causing me to be late for an appointment this morning. But it was fun to sit there at the stop sign watching them. So I was appreciative that they had everything, they were better prepared than I was for the snow, so.
Okay, Sydney?
Yeah, I have a few things. First up, reminder, the Winterland Market is this weekend. It's December 7th.
Oh, sorry, what was that, the what?
The Winterland Market at Menomonie.
Oh, okay.
It's from 12 to 4:30. And then next weekend is Wakanda Wonderland down at the Historical Center. And then I do have one quick question. Is it possible for our council, like claims, is it like to get itemized, not everything, but I mean, like, for example, for the chemicals, it'd be kind of nice to see what chemicals we're paying. Maybe I'm the only one who wants to see that, but we're proving some really large numbers here. And I just kind of want to know the specifics.
Yeah, so as far as the chemicals go, it's hydrofluorosillic acid and a chlorine cylinder.
Sorry, that was just like, it was an example, you don't have to actually answer. But just,
I can't answer.
you can't. And like for consulting services and accounting and auditing, and part of that I know is we have a lot of ordinances being on the agenda, but it'd also be nice to see like how much time and how much money is going to ordinance writing, and then the other attorney fees we're having. Like, I would just like to see more specifics in the future if possible. Sorry to put more on your plate, but it'd be really appreciative.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
The only thing I'm going to say is that I think the longer you sit on this body, the more you see that there's a lot that we don't know. We don't know what we don't know on any given day until we dig into something and research it and talk about it and repeat and repeat and repeat. We've had things, we've struggled with things in the past, but we've always worked together to try to minimize the nastiness that can come out of undermining each other. I think we need to try to work better at not doing that. And if you have concerns, you take them up with the people you have concerns with. And do a little less airing in public, I think would be a good suggestion in my mind only. So, amen.
Thank you. Cody? Ben? Well, I just have in closing, I just really appreciate our city council. Christmas holiday season is marching forward. I'm open to any discussion. If anybody from the audience or the community or the council wants to come forward and talk to me, by all means, set up a time and I'd be more than happy to talk through any issues that you may have. I'm really excited this year that we already have snow and we're already starting to get ice on the Wolf's Bay. And it won't be long, people will be going out there and doing some ice fishing out in the Cemetery Bay, I'm sure. Jeff, have you seen anybody out there yet? Or,
I am.
Well, I know your boys usually are avid ice fishermen and they get out. And the one thing about Lake Menomonie, I could say this, is wintertime ice fishing gets used a lot. And Randy Summerfield over there, I said, the lights are on across the bay. He says, yeah, I know, I'm looking at them from across the lake.
I can see them from my place.
Yeah. So I'm excited for Menomonie. I think Menomonie's got a lot of good things going. And I know we have our hiccups, but we usually get through them, we iron them out, and my door is always open. So if anybody would like to come in and see me or call me, talk to me, or David or Eric. Eric is out of town tonight. He's on a pretty interesting adventure, working through, what is he? He's speaking at an event touting Project Hope and financing and how to get money and for grants and all kinds of things. So he is helping other communities, helping us, and bringing more interest into Menomonie on his journey. So actually, we've got him speaking on behalf of Menomonie and who we are, what we are, and how we are,
and he's doing good things, so, but he's not able to join us this evening. But I just really want to, I appreciate everybody's patience, and I know tonight's meeting could have been a lot longer, but I think we did a good streak of business, and I love Menomonie and our city council. I appreciate all of you, and with that, we're going to move on with the rest of our meeting. Moves us on to claims, and we have a revised claims list in front of us this evening. If anybody would like to make a motion to support the claims list, we can do that at this time. Jeff Luther?
Make a motion to pay the claims list as presented, the revised claims list as presented.
Very good. Is there a second to that motion? I got hands that are Matt, Crow, and Ryland. Ryland, go ahead, please.
I'll second Jeff's motion there.
Okay, motion been made, seconded. Any discussion on this? Roll call vote.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Yountville?
Yes.
Pickard?
Yes.
Schweppes?
Yes.
Gens?
Yes.
Silver?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Erdman?
Yes.
Summerfeld?
Yes.
Luther?
Yeah.
Crow?
Yes.
Okay, brings us down to licenses. We do not have any. Tonight, I'm looking for somebody to make a motion to adjourn. Oh, you got your light on. I mean, what does that mean?
I make the move to adjourn.
Is there a second? Abigail? Okay, motion to adjourn and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.